All right, it's streaming time. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Wabbit. Good to see you. Or at least good to see that your fingers have typed on the keyboard. Yeah, let's just jump right in. What the heck? I got a few things to talk about. First up, some of you know I've been rearranging the studio, trying to get things to work in a little better order. And it sounds like I've got a little overactive gate on the mic tonight. So, real quick, let me take care of that. Listen to some bleeps and bloops while I fix that. As I was trying to eliminate the clicks from the mic when I turn the mic on. All right, so that's gone. And the problem that I was trying to cure was when I hit the mute switches, channel mutes, it clicks and would send the ducker into a crazy thing. So I'll fool with that, get that better adjusted later. Yeah, this is a mic that I'm using an open mic. It's instead of the usual, boom mic and whatnot. So this is a decent mic. I used to use it some time ago when I was first starting and streaming in the basement before I had the studio here. So it's been with me a while. And I used to use it on stage too as a vocal mic. So, not a Blue Yeti. No, it is. Let's see if I can figure out a way to. I know what I can do. Let me show you what it is. Maybe if I've got enough light, that'll be the deciding factor. Let me spin the overhead camera around. I'm going to make a little fuzzy kind of noise here when I pull the windscreen off of it. Stand by. Actually, I will mute it. Okay, so I'm going to tilt the camera down. I'm wearing pants, so that's okay. And socks. Got the whole thing going on here. So let's see. Stand by here while I zoom in. And yeah, there's not much light on this puppy. But I can show you. There it is. That is a Electro Voice RE16, and I've had this mic for probably 40 years, and so it's a decent mic. Does the job, and I'm probably going to end up getting an actual lavalier. Yep, the PTZ. The PTZ is with us. It's not going anywhere. Excuse me. Yeah. So let me put the PTZ back where it belongs for the next thing, or try to. And so, first thing up, I'm going to make the little fuzzy noise while I put the windscreen back on. There you go. And so that way, when I, hit my P's and my T's and whatnot, you won't get the popping. So, as I said, there's been some rearrangements to the studio, and I think the easiest way to show that, because I'm down to 2 cameras right now. The iPhone 6S that I was using for camera 3. It finally bit the dust. So let me see here. I have some pictures that I took in the light, and so I'll show you some pictures. This is what we've got going on here now. So instead, the little changes up. The playpen is back active. This is what you see when you first walk in the room. Basically, the biggest change is that, or changes, there's several of them actually. The biggest change though is swapping the monitor situation and the mixing and I/O. Swap them side to side because I couldn't get to everything that I needed to be able to get to easily, either while doing a live stream or while producing. So basically the big monitor is now in the corner between the two sets of keyboards, and so that's the room. That's basically what you see when you enter the room. When you're in the come on, there we go. Another view, just showing the arrangement, and this is where you get to see the old man vacation slideshow. So, oh, Eternity, and thanks for coming. Yes, thank you. This is the pictures were taken a little bit before I was done. I'm still not quite done, and they're never done. But this shows the basic work arrangement. The playpen is back, so this is what right now the drone that you're hearing is being generated over here to my right, which is the mini freak and the little modal stuff and the lemon drop, and then main production is here with the two controllers, and man, that I just noticed when I put that in, loaded that picture in the switcher, how crooked it is. But usually I'm much better about keeping my horizon straight. But the playpen, I'll go back to that one for a second. This area here is intended to be, I call it the playpen because the idea is that it may or may not maintain the same format all the time. And so right now I've got it set up like this. This is very close to how I had my setup for the January 2023 stuff. So I'm kind of sort of back to that. So anyway, that's that. Let's flip back through there. You also some folks may notice that I have swapped the position of the key lab and the Control S, and we'll talk about why that is in a little bit. Then over here to this one to my left is where all the good analog goodness comes from. So that's that. Let's drop back to here. So that's the new studio tour. Basically, just to get my workflow a little more organized, a little easier to work, a little easier to get things done. And I'm sorry, I've got the coughs tonight. This usually happens the day after I have a vocal rehearsal. We don't usually rehearse on Sundays, but we rehearsed. We had to miss last week, so we rehearsed on Sunday, and I'm all hacking and wheezing. So I'll apologize for that many times over the evening, but so that's that. One of the other things that I was frustrated about in the setup recently was I had bought a new computer for the studio, and it did not perform the way I had hoped it had. Hey Jeff, thanks for coming. Good to see you. So the new setup allows me to actually keep a better track of what's going on in the chat too, which is unless I'm over to this side using the using the Take 5 of the Polybrute, I can actually see the chat pretty clearly now too, which is really nice. So anyway, the computer, I bought an i9 based laptop with I put plenty of memory in it, the whole thing. This thing should have been a screamer, and it didn't perform worth squat, which is really, really disappointing. I did figure out, I did finally figure out what was going on. And it has to do with the flavor of i9 that I had. I had an an i9H, a 13900H, and so 13th gen, but the problem with the H series is that they're locked, which means you cannot overclock them, or they won't automatically overclock. Now, that's probably what's kept the machine alive at this point, because the overclocking models, the Ks, are frying themselves right and left. So, due to bad code on Intel's part. So that machine has been reduced to being my daily driver. Just work around machine. Maybe start some small projects, Ableton Live projects, but it won't do any of the heavy lifting. So I do my graphics on it now, and all that kind of stuff. Surf the web, watch YouTubes, those kind of things. The new machine is a Ryzen 9, and so it's I built it over a period of a couple of days. It's that's the stack o' guts, and I ended up building that in my old production machine. And the reason that I ended up going back to Ryzen, or a reason that I ended up going back to Ryzen, I did this before I was aware of what was going on with Intel's chips, was that the i9, hey Luke, thanks for coming. The reason that I went back to the Ryzen was my old studio computer, old studio computer was a 5-year-old Ryzen 5. And it was performing every bit as well as the brand new i9. So some of you who are on Luke's Discord, on the SynthSeeker Discord, hey Mike, good to see you. Don't miss building computers. This one was a fun one. This one was actually a fun one to build. If you were on the SynthSeeker Discord, you saw some of the discussions and some of the tests that went on. Because I was thinking about going to a Mac. I was very close to switching over to a Mac Mini, and there was a lot of discussions about how much Mac Mini I would need. And by the time it was all done, I said, you know what? With all the other things that would be involved in switching to a Mac, let me just try building another powerful Windows machine. And so put the i9 in. I used the case and power supply and a couple other parts from the old PC. The graphics card was from the old PC, but everything else is new. And I am happy to report that this machine screams. Yeah, you almost had me. That's right. That's another thing we've discussed, Luke, is ASIO drivers. I've been using ASIO drivers so long now that they're fine. They work great, and I have a big enough interface that I don't need to do I don't think I'm going to need to do aggregate interfaces or anything like that. Sorry about that. So, and if I ever do need to do an aggregate interface, ASIO for All does work. And I've been using that when I needed to, as long as it's been around. So, it's, what is this? Oh, yeah, gosh. Finally. Oh, you guys. I'm never gonna hear the end of this, I can tell. So anyway, Oh, where was I going? Oh, so ASIO drivers are fine. I've got I've got low enough latency that I'm happy, and the um, ASIO for all. Like I said, it's good enough for me. I don't need it much, and I've got an interface with 20 inputs. And I kind of have sort of decided that I don't really want much more gear. Maybe a couple things, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. My interface has girth. No, I have girth. It's it's just an interface. My interface is actually kind of interesting. It's one of those Zoom. It's a Zoom L20R, so it's 20 input mixer interface. It's also got a disc recorder built in. It's it's a nice thing, and it does what I need. It sounds good, and I can multi-track straight to it. It does all the stuff. So it's a decent little thing, and it wasn't horrifically expensive. Would I have preferred a Mo 2 or a PreSonus? Sure, I would have loved to have had a Mo 2. Hey, Mike. Yeah, it goes. It'll go beyond 11, if I want it to. It's not like it's an amp, So, anyway, that's that. Let's see. So the PC, I mean, it's, the new PC, it is screaming fast. The processor usage is well under control now. So I'm very happy with that, and the lips give me 21 inputs. Oh my, yeah, something like that. And I'm gonna say so the lips. The lips go with some other things. They're not in the room yet. I don't have in here yet the umbrella or the toast. So maybe one day. The lava lamp. Oh, someone commented a few weeks ago that I don't have a lava lamp. The lava lamp hasn't made it up here yet. Like I said, I'm not quite done in here. The lava lamp is still downstairs. It will. Well, life is a cabaret. Yes, it is a cabaret, and we'll mix. We're gonna mix up all those campy metaphors all night long, aren't we? So I don't know about the rice. I haven't decided. It kind of gets down between the keys, and but I did have rice for dinner, so maybe that's close enough. We just need Janet to come by, and I can say, "Damn it, Janet." Anyway, yep, there we go. We're straight down that rabbit hole. Oop-ack. Jeez. So there's that new PC. So we've talked rearrangement of the new PC, and because I'm so proud of it, I got more pictures. Because again, we're doing the old man's slideshow tonight. So the case, the power supply, the graphics card, and that 4 terabyte spinning metal drive were from the old machine, and the fans, the cool red fans, the graphics card. Actually, when I built this machine initially, it was yes, oop-ack, Luke, oop-ack is right. the machine was originally built to be a web streaming machine primarily, and video edit machine. And so for streaming, I was fighting with OBS, and everyone in the SynthSeeker Discord knows how I feel about OBS. But I was trying to fight my way through that. The reason I chose the card, the graphics card, it's a NVIDIA GTX 1660 Super, and I chose that card specifically because it has onboard H.264 hardware encoding, and so it was supposed to take all the load of that off the processor. But OBS and I don't get along. But for what I'm doing in this machine, it's a fine graphics card, and you know, it's perfect now. It's doing exactly what I need. So there's the machine set up for its first online test in the out in the other room where I actually did the build. There wasn't space in here to keep the studio up and running and do the computer build and everything else. So that's that. So that's the story of the machine. It's over. You can't really see it in the shot that I showed earlier. Go back to that. See, there's yes, it is. I'm looking at the shots in preview, so I don't flash them by you so fast. But so if in this shot the computer would be out of frame to the left behind the monitor. It's actually a couple feet out there. The thing is so quiet, you can't even hear it. Learned some interesting thing about the Ryzen 9 processors, the new versions of the Ryzen processors, that were at first a little alarming. You know, all the specs say what the max TDP is. Yeah, I hit a Mac Mini in the power supply. That's really what it is. There are specs on processor temperature, and they say it's supposed to be 95 degrees Celsius, and as the max, and this thing runs at 95 all the time. So after a lot of discussion elsewhere, and you know, reading and digging around in the manufacturer specs and whatnot, I found out that the way the Ryzens work, they are happiest when they're running at their max TDP. So that's the thing runs at max TDP all the time, and it's perfectly happy. I would like to get a little more fan going in there, and there's a bug in the newest version of the motherboard management software that it won't run in the exact configuration. The manufacturer's aware of it, and so once that comes out, I can crack my fan speeds up a little bit just to move a little more air through there. But it seems to run fine, and go with the broad pop culture reference. What's that saying there? Okay. I'm missing that one. That one's over my head. So anyway, so I hopefully won't be complaining about computers again anytime soon. Because this thing, I mean, it was a long setup. It took me 14 hours to build it, set up, and get everything configured on the computer. But I'm pretty happy the way everything's turned out. I cleaned out a lot of stuff that I'm not using anymore, so it's become kind of a lean, mean music machine, so to speak. So the other thing that I was complaining about. Oh, okay, Freaks and Toy Story. Yeah, I'm not up on those. I'm aware of them, but I'm not really up on them. So another thing that I have been grousing about lately, or for the last, I don't know, couple months maybe, is that you know, I bought this beautiful controller keyboard. Native Instruments Control S. And it is a beautiful keyboard, and I really do like it. The aftertouch is great. It's nice to play. As far as DAW control and doing the mixes during live stream, it's been fantastic. It controls all the Native Instruments stuff just perfectly. Anything that is NKS and NKS2 compatible is just, you know, amazing to use. But that was all it did. It wouldn't talk to anything else. And you know, a lot of folks have been giving Native Instruments a whole bunch of grief about it, because this thing's been out for months and it's been, you know, about 2/3 of what it's supposed to be. Thursday, I guess it was, Thursday or Friday, I think Thursday, they finally dropped the new firmware for it, and now there's the ability to set up some level of custom control. Before there was absolutely no way to do any custom control with it unless it fell within the fixed default setup that they had for control, which wasn't much. So they made that work, and I'm happy to report that it does work, and it's actually fairly elegant the way they did it. It could be a little better, but it's fairly elegant. And I'm going to set some things up here. Let's see here. I have to look because, you know, it's hard to see sometimes. Let's get some more light on this. There, that's a bit too much. Oh, geez, I didn't realize that was on air. That was sloppy here. So anyway, here it is. So it's now possible to set up custom controls. And so let me first jump over here and make the playpen get quiet. And we can fool with that a little bit. The setup is really mostly elegant. And I say mostly because it's a little clunky, but the nice thing is, in some ways it's nice in that you don't have to use any software to do this, unlike their older ones where you had to go through their clunky. Yeah, I need more light. Let's see. Hot standing lights. You know what? Let me see if I can get a little more light on this. And like I said, everything's not quite done yet. Okay, that's about all the light that'll give. The problem with this is it's all black and all the stuff is light, so when I turn it on, it blooms. But so anyway, getting into this, like I started fooling with this a little bit today. I've had the firmware. I've installed the firmware the day after it came out, and I'm just now having time to fool with it. So somebody texted me. What's going on? People know not to text me when I'm on live. So what's going on here? Okay, nothing major, of course. We're good. So. I figured I'd fool with something easy to tell that it's going on with. And I haven't figured out yet the best way to show this, so I'm just going to do something and we'll see what happens. You grabbed your phone. That's good. That looks like Vader's butt. Wow. Stuff going on tonight. There's some, wow, you guys are on fire tonight out there. So what I want to do is what I started with. I started fooling around with the Take 5 and setting up the Take 5, some MIDI on the Take 5. So let me set a thing up here so that I can show you all of what's going on. I'll do that, and we will tab over to that. So in order to make this work, you go into its edit mode, like so, which is Shift and Browse, and then you choose the template that you can either create a new template or edit one for the moment, we're going to edit this one called T5 test 1, which you can't see very well that it says that, unless you're, especially if you're looking and watching me on your phone tonight. But that says, trust me, that says T5 test 1, and that's because I'm using it with the test has been the take 5. So we go into edit mode, and here we've got a screen full of stuff. And so, I figured I would like to be able to control whatever synth from this keyboard, because it's got polyphonic aftertouch, and it's, so I figured, what controls am I going to control? Well, obviously filter cutoff. So I've set up, this knob here to be filter cutoff. And I've got some other things that I started fooling around with programming. Now, this is easy to do, and it's easy to do on a lot of different controllers. Some of them you need, like the KeyLab. You need to use their software, which is pretty good. So you use the Arturia software, and you can set up what you want on all the knobs and sliders. And there's a lot that you can do in the KeyLab. It's really really pretty complete, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff with it too. But yes, push 3, for instance. Yes, yeah, exactly. I got the take 5 set up, and I'm going to jump back out of. We're just going to play an initial patch on the take 5. So sawtooth waves, and that's basically it. So let me jump out of edit real quick. And so now I've got control of cutoff. On this knob. And then you're thinking, well, that's a big deal. But with this, that's been a big deal to get this far. And so, the tedious part of this is, that you've got to, go through finding all the various program changes and CCs and key them in. So, if I've got cutoff, for instance, on my keyboard, I might also like to have resonance. So, we look on the list. And we've got on the chart here, and I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me. So our CC numbers in the left column, what it does is in the middle, and the allowable range of values is on the right. So if we scroll through here, look for resonance. It's in there somewhere, and I'm looking at this tiny little preview monitor to see this. Filter resonance is right here, so it's CC34. So if we jump into edit, edit, and we're going to do this knob here that currently says CC15, so we cursor over to that, and I tell it what kind of control change I want it to be, and I've got choices. I can do the types that it'll support on the knobs are program change and control change. So we want it to be control change. I said we want 34. I'm leaving everything on MIDI channel 1 for now. You can actually set this up so that each knob controls a different MIDI channel. For the moment, the way I'm set up most of the time, I'm using just pitch bend. Yeah, I wouldn't put pitch bend on a knob. I would agree with that. So anyway, the way I'm set up, everything's on MIDI channel 1 most of the time. So for now, I'm just going to do this. If I need to rechannelize it, I will do that in Ableton Live. So we're going to set this to 34. And I'm using absolute mode. There's different modes you can use. You can do relative and relative offset, which basically just drops steps forward or backward, one step or one tick for when you move the knob. But I'm finding so far that absolute is working the best so far. And then we can have different kinds of display, and I need to show you that. So let me switch over. Back real quick, our types, assign types are control change, program change, channel. I'm using CC34, absolute mode. I can set a range, so I can set this so that it'll start at something other than 0. But for these controls at the moment, I'm just going to use 0 as my minimum, 127 as my max, because that's the range that is in the chart. And I have different modes here. I can do integer. I can do bipolar integer, which is neat for if you want to use if you do a pan control or something like that. You can do percentage, bipolar percentage, bipolar 50, which actually is a weird one. I'm not entirely sure what I'd use that for yet. And then you can use a volume in decibels. So for this, we're just going to use integer. I'm going to go ahead and rename this. So I just hit the rename button, clear out what's in here, and I'm going to type, or I'm going to come in and choose, I'll put resonance. I'll just put res, and we can save that. So now, if I jump back out of here, so on my display now, you'll see I've got cutoff and resonance. Resonance has come up here. And if I crank this up, and we've opened up the resonance. So, yeah, so, and I call it resonance. So, Arturia calls it timbre. Which is an interesting choice. But that's how easy setting most of the stuff up in this thing. Now, some of the other stuff is a little trickier. Like I've got it set up to do bank and program changes. Victoria is wrong, of course. You know, they're French. And I got nothing against the French. They make great food. Arturia make great synths, so they can call it whatever they want as far as I'm concerned. And if they want to call it timbre and brightness or something like that, is what they call it in Analog Lab. So it's and then the interesting thing about that is definable by whoever's building the preset for Analog Lab, and so when you're looking in Analog Lab at what the macro controls are going to do, it's anybody's guess what somebody's put in there. The new 100 is a 100 mil freescale and it is waterproof. Oh, so that could be a segue to, I'm not going to dive into this. I've only had a couple hours playing with the new firmware and the controller. I'll talk more about it. As I get more familiar with it. But I just wanted to let folks know I'm not grousing about that anymore. So I'll have something else to grouse about, I'm sure. But that's pretty much. I'm pretty much happy about that at the moment. So, I didn't put this on the title slide, but let's talk about synths, because that's what we all dig, and let's wade right into this, and and in the next segment of the show we'll either sink or swim. Yes, I used to swim a lot. I don't anymore. I was never competitive, but I used to love to swim. And now I can't breathe, so swimming becomes hard. Just you and me. Someone else is here. There's someone else lurking. Yeah, I'm very buoyant. I float well. But the swimming part doesn't, I can't get enough air when I'm, doing the whole thing. So let's talk about synths. Eternian is still here. Nonlinear Lab C15 sounds amazing. Yes, it does. And it's been around for a while. It's an interesting synth. Yeah, for years, and it's but it's an interesting synthesizer, and it's one of the more amazing sounding synthesizers I've ever heard, at least in demos. I've not touched one, and I don't know that I ever will have the opportunity, although I would love to. But it's kind of a strange, it's kind of a strange machine in some ways. You know, little music bed going here. Back to the playpen. For all of its goodness and depth, yeah, it needs knobs. I mean, my gosh, it's nothing but push buttons, and I'm sure they're very fine push buttons. But I at least want a filter cutoff knob. Give me at least that. You know, give me a Nest thermostat knob in the middle of it. You know, for goodness sakes. But so those buttons, yeah, it does not look approachable. And because we want knobs. We're synth guys. We want, you know, we want, and I'm pushing buttons on the remote here to get the shot that I want. Come on, you can do it. The PTZ is not behaving well tonight. Spin, 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 spin. We want this. We want a filter knob, you know. My resonance knob is right here. I got a filter drive knob right here, and then a master overdrive up here, and all these ADSR knobs, and you know, all this stuff. And you don't get that on that machine. You know, you get and we'll talk about that in a second, Luke. The you know, because I'm you know, I'm an Ensoniq fan. I was an Ensoniq fanboy, and you know, you got a couple sliders maybe, but for the most part, on an Ensoniq synth, you had a sea of push buttons and a big fluorescent display, and you know, it's but the sheer number of push buttons on that other thing, or just on the C15, or it's just like it kind of makes me twitch a little, you know. And but you know, if you've used an Ensoniq you know, ESQ or VFX or SD or EPS or my the Mirage, my God, it was terrible. As far as that went, it was horrible. But it was a really efficiently designed user interface. You could work very quickly on it, and so you know, I don't know how well the user interface is designed on the C15. Besides that, it's a sea of buttons and a display. You know, it could be a joy to work on. I don't know. I don't know at all. But so new synths. You know, I've already said it. I like Arturia a lot, and you know, that's not what I wanted. You know, there in all its glory is my 6-voice Polybrute, with knobs and sliders and everything, and you know, Arturia have come out with the P12, And what's going on there? Unapproachable, yeah. ESQ, love the ESQ. So Arturio's come out with the Polybrute 12, and it's expensive. It's two Polybrutes in one, mostly, or double a Polybrute, something like that. Because Polybrute's already two synths in one. Luke has said that he believes that I will own a Polybrute 12. I don't know. It's not in my plan. Lots of things aren't my plan. The first Polybrute wasn't in my plan. So who knows? Maybe one day my Sweetwater rep will call up and say, Garen, I got a sweet deal for you, and one will show up. If you don't want to own a CS80. So it's been kind of compared to a CS80 in some cases. I don't know that it compares to a CS80. I really don't. They're different. They're different kinds of instruments. They sound different. Yamaha has a different philosophy than does Arturia, or had a different philosophy. We had some discussions about Yamaha a little earlier today on one of the discords. The P12. I mean, the P12. I'd love to have one. Someone wants to send me one. I'll certainly take it. You're just waiting for me to buy one first. Op 6. So that's an interesting combination or comparison. The Op 6 to the C15. The Op 6, and I've got mine. That was another thing. Dan at Tall Dog saved my bacon on something he did with the case for the Op 6. He actually put the Visa mount on those cases, and that's the only way I was actually able to get it to fit where I wanted it to fit, because on the stand that I have in here, the arms are way too long to hold it effectively, and so I was able to modify a Visa mount plate to bolt onto the stand clamps that go on this new desktop synth rack that I have, or new to me, and put it right where I wanted it, the angle I want. It could be a little better, but it's good enough. It'll be fine. So having that on there, because this stand is unavailable and you can't get arms for it anymore. Keep looking. Gonna drive. Okay, yeah, drive safe. Don't look at the pictures. You've derailed my train of thought. Oh, so new synths. The Polybrute 12. I mean, it's out. It's been out for a couple months now. The comparison, in my mind, is C15 still needs knobs. Yes, it's going to need knobs. But because even the Op 6 has sliders and knobs, but so back to the Prophet 12 and the other new kid on the block. No, it's so no. The Polybrute 12 is not a CS80. No, it's not. And as I said, they're absolutely different synths. They work in completely different ways, and they do completely different things. Except in the broad category that they bleep and bloop, And thank you, because my train of thought is, it has problems in the switchyard sometimes. So what I was the two new kids on the block are the Polybrute 12 and of course the Moog Muse. And I'm seeing a lot of comparisons online between those two. And again, it's a no comparison kind of thing. They are different synthesizers. And, you know, my first reaction to the Muse was that, and again, this is without having fingers on it, and I'm going to circle into that real fast. Um, you know, we live in a situation now where we end up having to make a lot of decisions about expensive things without having the opportunity to experience the expensive thing. And this is not true just in music stuff, or it's true in photography. It's true in any expensive hobby, hi-fi. If you're into hi-fi, there are very few places for you to go actually audition a pair of speakers. You don't get to play with much with a camera that you're going to spend thousands of dollars, at least hundreds or maybe thousands of dollars on. You don't get to experience a synthesizer that you're going to spend thousands of dollars on. And, there are, most places now have decent return policies, but many don't. And so, it becomes very hard, I think, for high dollar synthesizers or high dollar cameras or high dollar hi-fi stuff to be sold effectively. I think it's really kind of a detriment to detriment to us all that we can't do that. The Moog interface has, let's see, I'm trying to I'm still using a little tiny laptop, so the chat is a little hard to read, but Moog has made the Moog one interface ideas that were great. Now we need to see if it doesn't have the tuning problems. Well, so yeah, that's a question with any analog synth, is how well is tuning controlled. I will say that I can't speak about a Polybrute 12 because I've not played with one, but I can tell you the Polybrute 6 is rock solid. I was talking to my wife about it the other night. We were talking about the experience that one of the guys in the Discord had with one voice being 7 cents out on a Muse. I've had the Polybrute 6 now for at least a year, more than a year, and I tuned it. I went through the tuning process, such as it is. It's not very difficult on the Arturia, but there's a process that they want you to go through. I went through that process when I first bought it. I went through it again at each firmware update, and otherwise I've not tuned it. And it takes care of itself. Anderson, thank you. Good to see you. Hi. And the same is true of the Take 5. I've not tuned it since it's been in the room. The Take 5, yeah, I've not tuned that at all, and that's been through at least one firmware upgrade, and I haven't even tuned it. They stay in tune, and I agree about FPGAs too. They're fantastic. Although there's a lot of purists that they want their Curtis chips, and I don't know that I necessarily blame them. There's a different flavor to those. The Curtis chips have their sound. and every oscillator family, so to speak, has its sound, and until you get into um, into a lot of modeling stuff, each different type is going to sound differently. It's going to sound different. Modeling synths, they can, if the modeling algorithms are good, they can sound like whatever you want them to sound like. And yes, flexibility, I think, is the future. And Anderson, thank you for the subscription. Hopefully, I will live up to keeping you here. So, I'm looking at chat. So, as far as that goes, I go back and forth. I would like to have a Moog synth at some point. It doesn't have to be a fancy one. There are things about a Moog synth that even the models are, and this might be the romantic memory of, me using a Moog a million years ago, using an old modular. But there's a sound about a Moog, and I don't know that the modeling is there yet. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, Luke, you've got a you've got a mini Moog, and autocorrect is not being your friend, is it, Luke? Oh my gosh, auto incorrect. So you've got a Moog Mini, and you've got Analog Lab. So you tell me, how good or how bad is Arturia's emulation of the Mini Moog? How close is it? And it's that, is it close enough? I already know that I watched on Starsky Car's channel is some time ago. He compared, and this was a strict waveform comparison. He compared modal electronics, one of the Cobalts, waveform output, and I think it was the Sculpt. It was just a little Sculpt that he was playing with. Its waveform output to an Oberheim OB6, and and it was kind of a blindish test on the channel, and he put the two waveforms up side by side, and you could not tell the oscillators apart from the $200 or $160 Sculpt and the OB6, the Oberheim OB6, which costs however much it costs, a fortune. So you say Analog Labs is neither good nor bad. It's different slightly. Can you make it? Yes. Have 4 emulations, Mini Moog. They're all just fine. Use them. Yeah. So and to that end, without having them side by side to AB, but having recordings side by side to AB, listen. I was able to emulate a Mini Moog with a wave state. And in a live performance situation, I don't think, in fact, I can tell you, nobody knew the difference. I had to play Heart's Magic Man on a gig, on a filling gig, and I needed that synth, that Moog, that Mini Moog sound. The Kronos wasn't going to do it. I mean, I'm sure it could have if I'd spent a lot of time with it. That was I loved that thing, but it was a hard synth to program certain things on, and it it took me a couple hours, but man, if I didn't nail that sound with the wave state of all things. And I know you had the mini Moog because you wanted one for your collection for years, and I get that. That's a kind of a holy grail synth. And I used that as an example because I knew you had it, and I know you also have. I know you also own the Analog Lab, and that's we were looking at the emulations. The Bogue. It should sound pretty close to. It should sound close, but let's see. I'm looking at the history. Very distinct. Nope. And no, the Moog or the Behringer's not going to feel the same. Yeah. So yeah. I mean, it should sound the same. I mean, Behringer have copped the circuit. What you might get different in the Behringer is it may be more stable. I don't know. It's using newer components. It shouldn't get as hot inside, in theory. They're not using point-to-point wiring or good old quarter watt carbon resistors on everything. And big old diodes. It's all surface mount now. So yeah, if you want hardware and yeah, I've got a Pro 800, a Behringer Pro 800, and sonically, again from my romantic memory, I can't tell it from my old Prophet, what my old Prophet 600 sounded like. It sounds the same, and I've got recordings of the 600. It sounds the same. The only gripe that I have about the Pro 800 is that it feels different, and it feels different mostly because it's cramped. So the Prophet 600 and the Prophet 5s and all, there's a lot of real estate. There's a lot of room for the knobs to land. The knobs are probably 150% the size of the knobs that are on the Behringer. So if you have that tactile memory, or if you've got other sequential full-size sequential gear, you're going to feel a difference between them. If you've never had a sequential in your life, an actual sequential in your life, and you pick up a Pro 800 or a Pro 1 from Behringer, you're not going to know that you're not playing on a sequential synth. You're just not. And I know Testboy loves his Pro 800. Yeah, it's fun to use. Right now it's on the shelf. Eventually, when the playpen gets a little further along, it'll end up in the playpen. I want to put that there. And there's a Moog. There's a Bogue that I would like to put in there, not the Model D. I want to put the Model 15 in there, I think. But again, going back, I'd still like to have a real Moog. And I think for the same reason, in some ways, Luke, that you did. And my budget's going to be very tight on that. It'll probably be a Mother 32. Even though having that and a Model 15, a Behringer Model 15 would be kind of redundant in a lot of ways. But I think that's the way I would end up. Or maybe I'd just skip the Behringer. I don't know. Don't know about that. Well, it depends. Just kind of depends on what happens. If anything happens, who knows? And because again, the other side of it is I am trying to not stick a lot more hardware in this room. And I'm largely happy where I am with hardware. I would like I mean, there's stuff I'd like to have. Obviously, I want an unabashedly yeah. See, and now the lie's going to come out because I'm gonna tell on myself. I still want an unabashedly digital hardware synthesizer, and feel is important. Feel is hugely important. It's back to, I like that big filter knob. There's the I've got two great hardware synths, and both of them have big filter knobs. Big filter knob here on the Take 5. The Polybrute's big filter knob is a master filter master control that gets both cutoffs. And PB12, yep, it's but see, I don't know, other than 12 voices, I'm not sure what the 12 buys me. So, and you say get a Summit or Peak, and of the unabashedly digital synths, the Peak is high up on the list because I don't want another keyboard. 4 keyboards is 4 full-size keyboards is enough. So I'm perfectly happy with a module or a desktop. I did say digital. So I've got analogs, and I'm thrilled with the analogs. I don't know if somebody shipped me a Polybrute 12 or if somebody shipped me a Muse, I would not turn it down. But I'm nicely set, I think, in the analog world. But as I said, an unabashedly digital hardware synthesizer, and so the list is there's 3 that are in consideration in that realm, and one is actually 4. There's 4. The Peak, because again, I don't need another keyboard. I'd love the dual layer capability of the Summit, but it's too big a box. So you're gonna ask me, do I not like the Hydra? The next thing I was gonna list was HydraSynth. Another one on the list is the Motorola Electronics Argon, and I just forgot what the 4th one was, so it must not be very high up on the list. Let's see. A Korg Mod Wave. Iridium. So, Proton sounds good. So there's a lot. I mean, and there's a lot of them out there, but those are the 4 that I've kind of narrowed it down to. Is the HydraSynth, the Peak, the Argon, or don't get old, guys. Don't get old, because your memory goes. Trying to think of more than one thing at once. That's the problem. So anyway, those 4 are on the list. Oh, the Mod Wave, and flipping back. So we're back to FM now. Okay, So the Op 6, we'll talk about the Op 6. I bought the Op 6 because it looked like it was a neat way to do FM that I might understand, and because I have me and understanding and me and FM never got along. I had a DX11, I had a TX81Z back in the day. I've had a couple other FM synths I had a DS8, a Korg DS8, and a few other FMs over the years, and I've never gotten a handle on FM until the Op 6, and it went on sale on the original generation went on sale, and I couldn't click the buy button fast enough. It was just, boom, I'll take it, and it is the most fun in FM, and I'm glad to have it back within easy arm's reach now. Earlier, when it was first coming back in the studio, it was over there, and I had to go get to it, and it was a pain. So now it's here within relatively easy arm's reach. I will probably build a some level of control for it on the Control S, either on the Control S or on the Keylab. I'm not sure which yet. One of the things this first iteration of the, I'll jump back to this, I think I forgot to mention, there is a caveat to the goodness in the Control S firmware upgrade that gives you the ability to do your own custom layouts, and that's that there's only there's physically there are 8 knobs and 8 push buttons, and then of course pedals and pitch and mod wheel and the touch strip. But you only get in the templates that you can make at this point, you can only get 2 pages of controls. So 16 knobs, 16 push buttons. I suspect that in the future you'll be able to do more pages, because any NKS synth has multiple pages. So I expect that'll be coming in a later version. Even if it doesn't, it's, if I put the most used controls on there, it's fantastic. And that's what I was really hoping for. Although it would be really nice to be able to lay out everything on a synth that has, shift controls for every control. The Op 6 is not exactly like that, although the 6 knobs do have different functions depending on which mode you're in, and I don't know how you'd be able to do that with this. If there's a way, I'll figure it out for sure. Let's see. P10. Oh, so my versatility. I would agree that a Muse is probably a more versatile synth than a Prophet 10. From what I've heard, and one of the things that I've noted on a lot of the demos on the Muse is that a lot of people are sitting around just playing the presets, and I think the presets do not show off the capability or the potential of the Muse as well as they should, especially having heard watched a couple other videos where someone have dispensed with the factory presets and just gone in and start digging around. I'll get to that question, Luke. There have been a lot of complaints about the Muse not having any meat. and I think a couple of the YouTube folks have set out to address that and did some custom presets, and man, that thing is fat. It's got all of the Moog goodness that you could ever want. And it's it's expensive, but so's so's a lot of things. It's not as expensive as the whatever the other thing was, the One or Source or whatever the heck it was going to be. It's like I couldn't believe it, and I've heard I heard all the demos and all the things. I was like, why did they? Who did these? Who did the presets? And are they playing it wrong? I don't know. But I heard a couple other folks, and if you go to my YouTube channel and dig around through some of my I've got a playlist that I started of videos on the Muse, and a couple of I think the first two in the playlist are folks who have dispensed with the factory presets and done their own, and I think they show them off much better, well, I know. Yes, most good synths are expensive. They're all expensive, and even a little bit of money is expensive to some people. I look for. I don't necessarily shy away from spending money if I have it, or if I can get it. But I look for value. And luxury items are not cheap. And I hear 2 wasted of 32 slots. I'm sorry, I gotta catch up with the chat. So what's I'll be with you in a moment. I gotta catch up. My gosh, you guys have been typing. Let's see. So Luke, one of the reasons, I guess, that the Iridium, we'll just jump back there. The Iridium has not been on my list, and I can only know about so many things. So part of it is price. My budget is extremely tight, and it's blown. So it's going to be a while before I would add anything anyway. But let me look at something here. Let me see something. I'm going to put the computer up in preview here and where did I put the mouse? There's the mouse. I'm going to do a little web surfing, and I can't see. Let me lose the switcher display. So one of the things I can do here, I can actually put the computer up full screen, and then it's a big 32-inch screen. Which is good for my failing eyes. So let's go to my usual haunt for things and see if they've got it listed here. Click. So, since there's a bunch of different levels here of Iridium. So the Iridium Core might be a consideration. I don't I have no hate for the Germans whatsoever. Um, I didn't like the. I will say I did not like the um, Blofeld very much. Um, I did not enjoy that. The bit that I played with it was not an intuitive thing to me. Um, but you know, Iridium core would not be out of the question. I don't think I'd have to learn about it. You know, um, I don't know that I would go for a full Iridium. It's just just the same way I balk at the price of the Muse, or I balk at the price of the Polyroot 12. I don't want to spend that much money. It's really what it boils down to. Um, it's not that I wouldn't enjoy the heck out of them. Will, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, the Peak does has it's got a it's. I guess I can go ahead. I'm on Sweetwater's site. Everyone knows I shop there. So what the heck? We'll just put it on the screen. Um, I say we'll just put it on the screen, and I'm not the only one who will do that. Couple grand for an Iridium. And of course I can't see where I'm typing now. Oh, here we go. There's the Peak. Now, so I know that if you call on the Iridium core, they've got better deals going that they're not showing on the price. They're bound by that minimum advertised price thing going on. So what are the limitations of the core? That's a good, probably single layer. I would guess. We can go back to it. We find the back button here, and back again. What does it say about it? Iridium Core Polyphonic Desktop Synthesizer. It's really hard to read on that little thing. Multi-sound. It may be a number of voices. I think the core is 16 voices, I think. It's also hard for me to see what I'm looking at it right now because I got a big VU meter stuck in the middle of the screen on program output on the switcher. Let me pop that back up and then not forget to change things on you. So okay, it's 12 voices of polyphony bitimbre. So it's still got 2 layers, 6 voices per layer. And probably I'd have to read the book. But so here's one thing that this is coming from a place of no knowledge of the actual device, and something like the Iridium strikes me more like a soft synth in a box, a VST in a box, and maybe that's my resistance to something like that. I don't know. Because I don't know what it will do that I couldn't do in Pigments, or that I couldn't do in Vital, or Hive, or whatever, So that's one of the things that is part of when I look at something. It's got to be unique. There's got to be something unique about it in some way, and it's got to be something that can't necessarily do just clicking on the mouse. And so so regular Iridium is only four more voices. So that's not a huge deal there. I mean, a huge difference there, honestly. You know, the Iridium looks nice. The idea of the touchscreen is cool. I love touchscreens. I'm a sucker for a touchscreen. One thing you can't do is turn a knob. Well, exactly. You know, and the Iridium Core's got a touchscreen. You know, so I love touchscreens. It's why I've got 3 iPads and I don't know how many other crazy little tablets. And out in the garage, there's 2 23-inch touchscreen displays that I would be using for something if the resolution on them wasn't so horrible. You know, and I don't know if I would say I would overuse that comparison, Will, because one of the things that I've looked at a lot of stuff and it's like, I want pigments in a box, but do I need pigments in a box? And you know, so the thing about pigments is that, and to Luke's thing, you know, want to be able to twist a knob or turn a knob. Well, if I spend a little bit of time, you know, I can set it up so that I can turn a knob. I've got 2 excellent controllers here now, one of which was specifically purchased so that it would have proper control over Arturia software. So, you know, I can control pigments or anything through Analog Lab. Pigments is the thing about pigments is then, you know, I can control pigments as well with the Control S because it's NKS compatible as I can with the Arturia keyboard. So, you know, is it a fallacy? I don't know. That's why I say if I want to look for something that if I'm going to buy another hardware synth, the knobs are one thing, and like I said, is it a fallacy because I can control it well with the hardware that I've got? Maybe. So that's why I look at things that are different than what I can buy in software. You know, so and that's why the things that have hit the list are, again, the mod wave. Now, arguably, I can do the mod wave in software, just like I could do an Op6 in software, just like I can do the wave state in software. And I could, you know, I could do an XY pad. I could do a touchpad to do the ballistics thing that you can do with the mod wave. So it's only the mod wave has only kind of recently been on the list, and it was a recent addition. There are things that the Argon does that, you know, with the exception of software control through the modal app back there, you know, the Argon is yes, it's a wavetable synth, but there's a uniqueness about the way that that they've attacked things. You know, there's just they're unique. They have a unique sound. They have a unique there's a unique architecture to them, and the things that they can do. I've been hard pressed to figure out ways to do in software. Let's put it that way. The Hydrasynth is the Hydrasynth. You know, there's a lot of things I don't necessarily like about the Hydrasynth, but I love the architecture and I love the sound. And you know, I was thinking about it the other day though, and I got to looking at a picture of the Hydrasynth, and I'm looking at the control layout, and I'm looking at the set of buttons over there, and I thought, you know, the way those buttons are laid out, reminds me a lot of the architecture layout, the graphic that is on the front of the case of an SQ80 or an ESQ1. And it's like, it's push the button to get to the thing you want to get to and do the thing. It's actually really, really, really well thought out. And you push the button, and the first level of controls are the first thing that you're going to want to use, and then you can dive a little deeper. And that's just like an Ensoniq. You go to the mode, the first level of controls are the ones that you want to use the most, and then you go a little deeper, and it's very logically laid out. So that's where that got on the list. The Moto electronic stuff is not as logically laid out, but again, it's unique. And then the Peak, I love the sound of the Peak. It's those oscillators and the Novation filter together are just really nice. And so there's those are really the top three, and then the Mod Wave kind of in there for spice. Let's see. Korgs sound amazing. Of course, Samurai kills it. So does he have a Mod Wave? I didn't know he did. That Samurai's got a Mod Wave. Peak is fun. Yeah, they're all. That's the thing. They're all fun. And I know, Luke, that you've got the trilogy too. I mean, it's and that's the thing. They're all fun in their own ways, and so it's like, what's going to be because there's room for one more synth, and maybe, and that's going to be tight, So it's in the meantime, I'll be happy with the software. So let's see. We did that. I'm looking at my list of things. Oh, and just because some people complained in the title slide for tonight's episode, no AIs were harmed in the making of the image. I had some people say they don't like my AI imagery, but what the heck. What the heck? So I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think I'm done talking. Run out of air. My gosh, I've been running my yap for an hour and a half. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm done talking. Drum log. Yeah. And that's actually one thing that I think I'm missing a drum machine, some sort of drum rhythm box. I've got 3. I never use them, so I just use software. I'll probably be putting a few things up for sale. So yeah, I think that's going to be it. Maybe I had promised Wabbit that I would play a little bit. I don't even know if he's still here. He gets up at well before so he probably went off to sleep. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for me tonight. Thanks for coming, folks. Wabbit is sleeping in the hutch probably. Yeah, I agree. It's late. I got a busy day tomorrow. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. Thanks, guys, for coming. Thanks for the chat. I'm sure we will continue some of these discussions on the Discords, wherever we may be. So it'll be a while before I do anything, unless my man from Sweetwater calls and says, "Garen, such a deal I got for you. You got to jump on this thing," and then some new box may show up in the studio. You never know. We'll see. So anyway, I'm gonna make some more noises in the playpen. I could do the 70s, 80s crime drama drug to dream sequence sound. So anyway, good night all. Thanks for coming. We'll talk to you all next time. See ya.